Hey guys, Casey here. Welcome back to Lions Den Investments and Reviews. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Basically what we do on this channel is just review financial products and services. We study the markets in traditional stocks and in blockchain space. And over the last year and a half, basically what we've been doing is just focusing in on the blockchain space because let's face it, that's where all the smart money's going. So that's what I'm going to cover today is the blockchain space, show you where we're at with Bitcoin right now, and then we're going to get into some of the fundamentals in the market and show you where we're at there. So let's go ahead and dive in here and get started. With Bitcoin right now, guys, we are pretty much in a zone range of in between about 39,100 or $200 and at the all-time lows here of about 30,455 bucks. Okay, so we're bouncing around in between those two levels, and you can see we retested down here at least 3 different times on Bitcoin, and that was right around like 30,527, 30,400 ish. And because we've gotten 3 different retests, what I'm waiting for here is to see if we can break above that magic number of resistance around 39,200. Okay, so if you're somebody who's trading cryptos, and you want to make some trades on Bitcoin, you got to remember the trend's your friend. Okay, and right now we are in a downtrend. Until we can break that downtrend resistance and get up here above like 39,200, I would say Bitcoin is still looking a little bearish at the moment. Okay, but that could change. We'll just have to see. I mean, we could go sideways by all means for at least another month or two, and play out the capitulation and contracting of the prices before we head higher. So that's Bitcoin. Most of the markets right now are down in the red. I've shot some videos on Theta and T-Fuel and a couple of these other projects through the months, and I've studied technical analysis for you, but I don't really want to go into those today. What I would like to talk about is the Bitcoin narrative that's taking place out there right now, because guys, here's the thing about Bitcoin, especially when it comes to the cyber attacks. We've had JBS, which is the world's largest supplier of beef, that was just hacked, and apparently they handed over $11 million in a Bitcoin transaction to the hackers. Okay, not to mention you had the Colonial Pipeline hack as well, and that was paid in Bitcoin too. And so what I find really intriguing about all this is the fact that before we get started on the El Salvador and what they're doing, and we'll get into that here in a minute, but what I want to talk about is the narrative with Bitcoin and how they're trying to show everybody in mainstream media that Bitcoin is somehow evil because hackers are getting paid in Bitcoin, right? That's like basically the whole concept behind gun control. Or if I have a Volkswagen and I hit somebody with a Volkswagen, all of a sudden the Volkswagen's evil. It's not the person that was driving the car. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep that in mind when you see these articles about hackers getting paid in Bitcoin, and they're trying to push this narrative that like somehow Bitcoin is bad. No, it's the people behind it that are using it. They can use it either for good or bad. So it's not Bitcoin necessarily. And the other thing that people are missing is that Bitcoin is a distributed ledger of accounting. Okay, so the data within the transactions that are made is immutable. This means that because it's immutable, the data cannot be manipulated or modified, and it's stored permanently there on the ledger. So when you hear like mainstream media sit here and talk about how it's Bitcoin's bad because criminals can use it, right? Think of it in terms of, well, when it comes to tracking financial transactions, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because as you see, or as you're seeing right now, it's coming out in the news that they're able to get a lot of those funds back that were paid out in Bitcoin by cracking these private wallets. Okay, they're not cracking the blockchain. Let me be clear on that. They are not cracking and hacking Bitcoin blockchain. The government has been trying to hack the Bitcoin blockchain since 2009, and they gave up on it because nobody could hack it. Okay, so keep that in mind. They're not hacking Bitcoin network. They're hacking private wallets that these hackers used. And to be quite honest with you, I kind of throw some red flags at that as well, because hackers are far smarter than these guys. All right, if they can hack the colonial oil pipelines and the world's largest suppliers and get away with that, do you think they're going to sit there and create private wallets that that are out there to the public so anybody can just grab them and track them down and then take the Bitcoin out of those wallets? I don't think so. So you got to use your head a little bit, use some common sense. It doesn't add up. It's fishy. And to be quite honest, I think that's what they're trying to do, is push this Bitcoin narrative that it's somehow bad, so they can get the retail investors out of it and buy it up for themselves. Because guys, this is probably the best asset that's coming around. It's come around in the last 100 years when it comes to the technology and what it does. Okay, and there's only a finite supply of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million that'll ever be produced. Right now, Bitcoin has got about 18 million in circulation, maybe a little bit more than that as of right now. But once that 21 million is up, that's it. There's no more. And a lot of people, I hate to say it, here in about the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't even going to be able to get their hands on Bitcoin because they sold and they bought into this hype, that somehow Bitcoin was bad and that maybe their government was going to ban it, like you've heard about, with China and some of these other countries. And then they're going to look back on it 2 or 3 years from now, and they're going to be like, man, why did I let go of my Bitcoin? Because what these guys are doing is dropping the price on purpose. It's purely manipulation and FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They're going to come in and buy this stuff up on pennies on the dollar, and you watch, here in the next 3 or 4 years, Bitcoin, I guarantee, is going to be over 150,000 or 250,000, like some of these guys are projecting. It may not do it this year, okay, because we still have to get back into a bull market, and a lot of the technical experts are saying that Bitcoin should revert back into a bullish sentiment sometime around like the end of July. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can predict these markets 100%. So therefore, that's why I'm not really focusing on the technicals right now, and I want to cover the Bitcoin narrative and the fundamentals. All right. So getting back to the article here, though, this is El Salvador. Okay, El Salvador becomes the world's first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. All right. Now this is huge, huge news. And being that I've got the blockchain certification as an Ethereum expert, and I'm working on my blockchain architectural certification in decentralized application solutions for blockchain architecture, I understand how Bitcoin operates, okay, from its architecture inside its own blockchain. And guys, the thing with Bitcoin, the biggest problem we've had with it so far is that it has been too slow for transactions when it comes to confirming blocks and the data inside those blocks. The average block time is about 10 minutes on Bitcoin, but at peak times, okay, when Bitcoin network is at its peak, a lot of people in the past have had to wait for like at least almost a day before their transactions are processed. Bitcoin's transaction time per second is only at about 5 transactions per second, as opposed to somebody, another blockchain that's like 3rd or 4th generation, like Theta, for instance. Theta does about 60, I want to say it was like 69.43 transactions per second, as compared to Bitcoin, which is only doing about 5 per second. So that's been the main problem with Bitcoin, is trying to solve that problem. And I saw this headline come out, and I was like, they're going to make it a legal tender. They're going to have to improve the speeds and processing times of transactions for Bitcoin. Well, come to find out, they're going to use an application called Strike. Okay, and Strike runs on something called the Lightning Network. And if you're asking what the Lightning Network is, let's just pull it up here. The Lightning Network is scalable, instant Bitcoin blockchain transactions. Okay, so instant payments. The Lightning Fast blockchain payments without worrying about block confirmation times. That's the problem it's solving here. Security is enforced by blockchain smart contracts without creating a on-blockchain transaction for individual payments. So payment speed is measured in milliseconds to seconds. Now it's very scalable, okay, capable of millions to billions of transactions per second across the network. Capacity blows away legacy payment rails by many orders of magnitude. Attaching payments per action click is now possible without custodians. So basically, essentially, just to summarize it for you without reading too much and boring you here with all the technical talk, the Lightning Network, what it does is it settles payments instantaneously off chain, so it's not taking place on the blockchain. And then, theoretically, what they're doing is they're taking those payments that are settled off chain, and then they're putting them back on the blockchain, so they can be confirmed in the future. Okay. Now, the other thing that's really unique about El Salvador and what they're doing here is they are, because the energy consumption on Bitcoin is so high, for a single transaction to be confirmed and processed on the Bitcoin network, you're consuming enough energy to run an entire household for their electricity. You could run an entire household for a day just off of one transaction and the energy that is consumed on Bitcoin network for one transaction. Okay, so in order to solve that problem, basically what El Salvador has done is they're creating their own mining facilities for Bitcoin, which are built off of geothermal technology, and they're going to use the volcano's energy to help mine that, to help mine the Bitcoin. So, if you ask me, that's an extremely smart, brilliant way to do it. We'll see if it works in time. The president of El Salvador is giving a 90-day time frame on implementing this and getting it going live, okay, across the entire country. So, with that said, if you guys hear, all right, pay attention over the next 90 days, because if you hear anything about the president of El Salvador, potentially getting into some trouble, or something happens to him just out of the blue, you're going to want to ask some questions, because it probably has something to do with this. And if you think about it, all dictators in the past have done something similar with, like, gold, for instance, and you've seen what's happened to them, especially when it comes to, like, economic hitmen, for instance, that are out there that do dirty deals for different governments economically when the powers that be are threatened. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this, all right? Because if this actually works, guys, and this goes through, I think you're going to see a lot of countries following suit and taking that blueprint that El Salvador has set up here, and then they'll just move forward with it, one country after another. And unfortunately, I think the United States, being the archaic dinosaur that we are, will probably be the last ones to jump on this. With that being said, guys, another thing to talk about is the U.S. dollar, okay? Because moving forward, what they're doing is they're going to increase your taxes on the back end, all right, as an employee and as an investor. So the taxes are going up on the back end for everybody. And then on the front end, you got the Fed, which is doing this. They're printing up tons and tons of money right now, okay? Money printing, just printing money out of thin air. Now that's the biggest difference between Bitcoin and the US dollar. Like I just said, there's only so much Bitcoin that can be created, and then it's done, which creates that scarcity, and it makes Bitcoin a store of value. Whereas because the value goes up, whereas here, every dollar that you hold in your back pocket is just losing value by the day, to the point where basically what they're doing here is the Fed balance sheet right now is just topping out at $8 trillion for the first time. Now you got to ask yourself, you're getting taxed on the back end at higher rates, and you got the Fed just literally lighting your dollar bill on fire and waving it in front of your face, okay, and you're trading your time for money. Guys, come on. That's the wrong way to go about it. You should be hedging, okay? You should be getting into assets that are going to hedge against inflation, because that's what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, if you're an employee, your company is not going to give you a raise to match the inflation. They're just not. If anything, I mean, you'll be lucky if you get a raise at all. Because what we're facing right now is something similar to what we saw in the 1970s, where you had inflation and then you had stagflation of wages. Okay, and because of that, it made it a very, very harsh economic environment for investors and for employees and business owners. And you had to be able to maneuver in and out of the dynamics that were in front of you. And we're facing the same thing today, except here I think it's much, much worse, to be quite honest with you. And that's why I study in on blockchain and the blockchain space, because a lot of these assets are, they're even better than Bitcoin. And if you get in on them, at the very beginning of some of these projects like Theta and T-Fuel, for instance, and you ride those things up over time, especially if you're staking cryptos right now, you can create the passive income and dollar cost average in at different prices with your passive income and get it compounding for you so that you create more money to battle that inflation, okay? Now, again, fundamentals, I'm going to wrap this video up here because I'm talking an awful lot, but on the fundamental side, I've been running across a lot of articles recently on just nothing but good news for cryptos and blockchain as a whole. So don't pay attention to the FUD is what I'm trying to say. Look at all the fundamentals that are in front of you. Everything points to higher prices in blockchain here down the future, even in the next 6 months, okay? Look at this. BIS, Banking of International Settlements, joins France and Switzerland's central banks on cross-border CBDC project, okay? Um, if that's not big news, I don't know what is. And if that's not bullish for cryptos, I don't know what is. I'm not going to cover the article here. I'll leave a link in the description for you so you can go read it for yourself if you want. And I'll leave the other articles there as well in the description. But that's all I have for today, guys. Hope you guys are having a good one. These markets are volatile right now. You don't know if they're going to go up or down. So, with that said, like I say, as usual, fear nothing, my friends, okay? Be a lion, don't be a sheep. And with that in mind, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon.